these kids living in poverty have all these other obligations and duties, and collecting the wood, collecting the water, taking care of their siblings. They're 5, and they're taking care of their 1-year-old, their 3-year-old sibling. I saw that only 6 children out of a class of 40 were actually going on to high school. And I thought, my God, that's really a low rate. So at grade 6, you're talking about 90 to 95% of kids stopping their education at the elementary level. That kids have to pay for their school uniform, they have to pay a tuition even though it's subsidized and should be free. Actually, there is a tuition cost. And of course they have to buy their school supplies and pay for their photocopies and get to school. And so it's a big burden on families that have barely enough to meet their basic necessities. So what if we remove one of the barriers of paying for some of the costs associated with going on to high school? So the very next year we saw 90% of the kids go on to high school. Mercedes was the cutest little boy who cried at the graduation that it coincided with me leaving, and he presented me with a gift and flowers, and he was crying. And this is him now, too cool to say hello. Hey? Ciao. But what I started noticing is, we started getting more requests for things. Can you give me this? Or I need that. And I started thinking, like, the pot runs dry pretty fast when you have to always give something. And so we started thinking, what can we do that's, truly more sustainable development other than addressing immediate needs of the day? So, one of the first large-scale development projects I started was a tamarindo field. And it's an orchard. And basically the school had 2 hectares of abandoned land. So after doing a lot of investigation, we found that the soil is extremely, extremely salty. And of course it's the desert. And there's almost never any fresh water. And so basically we determined that something that could survive there was a tree called the tamarindo tree, which produces a fruit that's very healthy for you, and they use it, you can eat the fruit, or you can put it in drinks, or in ice cream, or you can cook with it, and it's in high demand. So we bought 350 trees, and the community, we had a meeting with the community, and we proposed the idea, and it kind of became like a cooperative. We needed the labor, we needed people to participate, and I provided the funds and the direction and the guidance, and they quickly organized, and within the next week we started clearing the field so that when these trees mature and produce fruit, that the fruit can be then sold, and then the proceeds go back into the community. So even if I decide to permanently retire in Mexico or something, that this is going to exist far beyond myself, and that it's something that the community owns and takes care of. One of the other projects that we started recently, and it's still kind of in its trial stage, is the microcredit loan program. And initially it started out as a sponsorship program, sponsorship/microcredit loan, in the sense that we're giving families a small chunk of money to invest so that they can then generate more income for their family to survive their daily crises. Because living in poverty, there's always a crisis. If you're sick, you need to decide, are you going to eat today, or are you going to buy medicine? This is not something that happens once in a while. These are daily, ongoing crises. There is no calm living in poverty, The family we do about $100 loan, and it's a loan/sponsorship because they only have to pay half of it back. The other half they don't pay back, and the half they do pay back goes on to sponsor another family. So there's this social responsibility. You need to pay back your loan, and if you don't pay back half of your loan, then another family is not going to get a loan. So you need to think of other people too. So people have been very good with paying back their loans. And so what they generally have done is they take the $100, and we don't give the families the cash directly. What we do is they propose a business plan, a simple plan. What are you going to do with this money to generate more money for your family? So you can't go out and buy medicine, you can't go out and buy groceries. You need to do something that's going to make money. So a lot of the families, because they're farmers and they live in a rural area, a lot of them do two things. They work on the field and they have animals. So most families use the money to buy animals. They'll buy 2 goats and some chickens or turkeys or ducks, or they'll buy 2 pigs or 2 sheep. And the idea is they breed and they feed them until they get big enough, and they sell some, they keep some, and so they have this kind of security that if all else fails, they can either eat one of their animals or they can sell it off and use that money. And the long-term goal for that is that they keep doing that. So they use some of their profits, they continue to breed their animals, they sell some, they keep some, and they continue to do that. So it's ongoing. And so right now we've sponsored about 37 families, and that's within 2 years. And of course there's at least 200 families that need loans and want loans. And so we're in the stage where we're seeing how successful the loans are. Some of the loans have not been so successful, but most of the loans have. In the cases where some of them haven't been successful, it's because a major crisis has happened. Someone was very, very ill and they had to, in fact, in one case, a mom was bitten by a tarantula and she passed away. So a man is left with his 6 children to provide for. Obviously he needs to sell everything he has to survive. So in extreme cases like that, $100 isn't going to go very far. But in other cases, especially where the family is very solid, the loans have succeeded very well. Another loan was Martina and Santos, and they used their loan to invest in corn. And what they did is they ground the corn, and then they made a drink called chicha from it, and they sold chicha. And they also used that to feed their animals. And they also planted corn in their field. And eventually, with one loan, they were able to save enough money to put towards buying a horse. And so now that horse, instead of them walking to their farm every day, it's carrying the wood, it's carrying the produce from the farm, it's their transportation. You know, these people are saving hours of work. And so there's lots of stories like that. So, and we're talking about $100. So it's like nothing. It's pocket change for us. And but the problem is people don't have savings. People don't have savings. They can barely meet their daily needs. So to save up to buy an animal is a major deal. And so giving them the money up front allows them to start the loan, start the business, and then they carry it forward. And hopefully the idea is that they save enough money to continue generating more profit. So in terms of the long-term goal, the goal is to try to get the community to take on these projects that we started. And we're in that process right now where, you know, the leaders have emerged. So our, you know, AYNI's role right now is to try to work with those people and get them feeling comfortable enough to run everything. Another long-term goal is to keep fundraising, keep the income coming so that they can make use of this money. So I plan on having a connection with this community, whether it's being the liaison between them and the funders, but
You know, problems don't just go away after you've been there and you've started these wonderful projects. You know, the poverty continues to exist, and we need more money to continue the projects. The projects that generate money themselves are fantastic. We need those. And ideally, you know, if it generated enough money, it could cover things like medicine. But in reality, there's so many people, and we only have a few projects. It'll be able to cover some of it, but it's not going to cover a lot.